Welcome to the G.N.A podcast, Games, Nerds, and Alcohol, where we completely record late because, yeah. I just fucking forgot. I'm going to be 100% honest. Like, I'm switching around days to record, and I fucking forgot. So here we are. I dragged these two, maybe three if I can get one of them to multiply, into an afternoon of drinking. Well, I'm drinking. I don't know if everybody else is drinking. We'll find out. But we got D here with us tonight. D, how you feeling, man?
Much better. Back from the brink of death.
Say the Rona almost had you, man.
Hey, it kind of squeezed the balls a little bit, but I broke free.
Dude, honestly, whenever you get sick and like it's one of those, this almost got him. My brain goes immediately into Tremors 2, where they're like, oh man, here's Bert. They didn't get him. And then as he gets closer, like, or did they? And then you see him like rolling in. He's got guts and stuff. Like, that's what I think about you whenever I think of sickness. Like, oh my God, the sickness almost got him. And then like we see you and like, or maybe the sickness did get him.
It's honestly hard to tell. I mean, sometimes I'm like, I have to check the pulse and be like, am I just kind of like still mobile and not realized I'm dead yet? Or okay.
I'm not dead yet.
Then I see heartbeat. I'm like, oh, okay. Refrain from biting people for now.
Zyber, I gotta ask, what shirt are you wearing? That looks like a Destiny shirt from here.
I am wearing a shirt from someone that I follow on their podcast and YouTube called Saddle Tramp. It's a motorcycle show. He works on bikes and does chats and stuff like that.
So fun bit of news.
Really fun, yeah.
Coming this September to a highway near you, I'm getting my motorcycle's license. Finally getting around to it.
Excellent.
Dude, I've been riding bikes on friggin' dirt and quads and everything else. I'm able to drive anything that's got like anywhere from 2 to like 15 wheels.
Or no wheels.
I don't count that as driving. I count that more as falling.
All right, one wheel and I'll be impressed.
I can't do one wheel. Have not done one wheel, but I'll try one of those monocycles, like that big wheel that goes around you, like the old Cobra, whatever, Hive things. Remember those things in G.I. Joe?
Yeah, I know
I'll drive one of those
about.
things. But yeah, so September, I'm going to be rocking out on that. So
just don't ride up here. It's a death sentence, no matter how good you are.
Dude, like literally, I have seen people down here merge into bikers. Like not just, okay. I'm going to be this dickhead. I'm like, you should totally be looking out for bikers. 100%. As a biker though, you have got to understand that people who are in cars driving who are not bikers, they're not trained to look for bikers. Like they're looking for 2 headlights. They're looking for 2 taillights. One oftentimes does not register. And I'm looking at both of you too, and don't you dare say you don't do it. People, when they get behind the wheel, will start to passively drive, where they've checked out, they know where they're going, their brain is off, they're just on autopilot to wherever they're going. And in that situation, most people do not notice bikes. So in that case, bikers, you gotta keep that in mind.
Cecil, I think you fail to realize one thing up here.
Massholes?
You know how many people I've watched in trucks and cars merge into each other?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
At 80 miles an hour? I barely missed getting killed on numerous occasions because they just merged into... into one in front of me. Right in front of me.
On the flip side, though, bikers, you gotta not be assholes when you're on the road. So, I understand that lane sharing is perfectly acceptable in a majority of states. However, if you're lane sharing at 8 miles an hour and you're in somebody's blind spot and they start turning into you, that's like, okay. That's just if you're in a car and you're in somebody's blind spot and you've just been perched there the entire time. Granted, they're good. They should be checking for you, but you're a tiny little bike and a fucking blind spot. So, I mean, drivers are assholes too, but bikers, you got to be out there thinking smart and not being an asshole as well.
I mean, each group has their assholes.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I see more people on 4 wheels being assholes than people on 2.
Oh, see, now that's a difference down here. I see more people being assholes on 2 wheels than I do on 4. There are a lot of assholes on 4 wheels, by the way. But if I go percentage-wise, like, dude, I saw a dude on a bike, all right? It's dead stop traffic. He starts blasting through, like, in between people. I'm like, all right, whatever. Literally goes blasting through, smokes into a freaking tow truck, right into the back end. Like, just boop, right in the back. Not he wasn't even looking. And it's not like the tow truck moved. He's a fucking tow truck in the middle of dead stop traffic. Bam, right into him. I just literally come putting by. The biker is literally screaming at the tow truck driver. I literally saw it happen 40 feet in front of me. That tow truck was dead still. That guy got out and the biker's like, blah, 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 you ruined my bike. I'm going to sue you. And I'm like, brah, you just went like 60 miles an hour lane splitting when everybody was at dead stop traffic. What was your expectation on what was going to happen on that?
That's one thing I fucking hate is when people lane split. I will never do that. Never have done it on a bike. I think that's just like those assholes that do 90 down a highway, then pop a fucking wheelie. Hey, you're a fucking organ donor at that moment. You're spare parts.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. No, so like I'm totally okay. Like, okay, if you're at a stoplight and you're lane sharing with like a person in front of you, like there's 2 cars in front of you, like, you know, side by side, and you're at a stoplight and you're lane sharing between those 2, I am 100% okay with that because remember I said about that passive driving shit? Somebody will come blaring up behind that person and not see that biker and just rail right into the back. So I'm 100% okay with lane sharing at that point in time because it's a safety thing. Like, that I get. But lane sharing
at like fucking damn unicyclists.
But just like when it's dead stop traffic and you're just, you know what? I'm on a bike. I can split between these all these cars. It's like, it's called right of way at that point in time. Yeah, okay, I guess you can. Like most states, like in Virginia, they don't actually have any lane sharing laws. Like it's not against the law or not against the law. It's just there's no laws on it. So I think it's in Virginia that's that way. And like most of the time, I'm like, I don't really give a shit. Like I don't care if I see a biker behind me. Like if we're going like 40 miles an hour on the highway and I see a biker coming up behind me, I'll scoot over my lane as far as I can. So that they can lane share with me and go by me. Because they're on a fucking bike. They can. I don't give a shit. But it's like when we're stop and go traffic and you're going like fucking 60 miles an hour in between everybody. It's like, dude, you are begging for like somebody to, and it's not, dude, and it's not uncommon. Like you'll turn your car just a little bit to try to see ahead to see where traffic is because whoever's in front of you is blocking your view. If you don't see a fucking biker coming up behind you and you just do that to look, they're eating your hood. Like they're going right over top of it. But anyways, I think that's enough of what grinds my gears from Cecil and bikers. What is everybody drinking? I can taste that, so I'm going to go first. I am drinking some Pepsi with some misunderstood whiskey. I'm going to actually be drinking this on the show tonight with Devin. Been doing a whole bunch of stuff with Devin at Thoughts and Shots. He is still looking for a co-host, so if you're willing to take on co-host responsibilities, which involves more than just showing up, it actually involves advertising, it involves show planning, showing up for the shows, being available, as well as doing cons and what else did he say? It was cons and other events. I can't remember what other events he said, but if you're totally able to do that and you are in the, oh shit, is he Ohio area? He's Ohio, right?
I wouldn't say Ohio. I don't feel that's a strong, I think it's like...
It's not Iowa.
It's Midwest.
Okay, we're going to say it's out there towards the Midwest. If you're able to do such things, get in touch with Devin from Thoughts and Shots, or reach out to me, Cecil Xavier. I will hook you up with the man. So, Zyber, what are you drinking tonight, man?
What I am drinking is something that's a little light and easy. I'm just having a Guinness.
Oh, love it. Good, dude, I love Guinness. I have 2 Guinness in the fridge. If I didn't just go and have sushi, I would actually be having a Guinness, because I'm trying to do the stupid low-carb thing. Well, Ironically, I'm trying to do less carbs just because of less carbs. But I'm trying to do more protein because I'm actually trying to get actual gains from the gym this time around. And do you know how much protein? Like, okay, I went to a personal trainer. I started talking to him like, all right, I want to actually start gaining muscle versus just being a tall, lanky son of a bitch I am. Do you know what he told me? Do you know about how much protein he told me to eat per day? Per day!
It's a lot. It is a lot.
Guess. Give me a number. Okay, translate that to grams. No, it's not 3 pounds. It's in grams he gave me. Oh. Take a guess. What do you got, Zyber? Give me a number.
Like 2,200.
No, not 2,200. That would actually kill somebody. That's called toxicity. He wants me to eat a gram of protein per pound I weigh.
Okay.
I weigh 230. Do you know how many?
I'm not good at conversion, so like.
Do you know how many grams are in an 8-ounce steak?
I have no clue. I'm not great at conversion.
Hey Google, how many grams of protein in an 8-ounce steak?
Sorry, I don't have any information about that, but I found something
Google,
else.
you're now a cunt.
Do you want to know how many calories are in an 8 ounces grilled sirloin steak?
No, Google, you have failed me, and you have failed this city. I think it's like 16, dude. I gotta look it up now. Hold on.
I'm trying my best.
I guess there's a reason bodybuilders do the protein shakes and powders. I guess we know why now.
I think I just hurt Google's feelings.
Dude, bodybuilders will eat like 24 eggs in a sitting.
And there's a reason why their kidneys fail a lot. Too much protein will F your kidneys pretty hardcore.
Okay, so in a 228 gram steak, which is an 8-ounce steak, there is 56 grams of protein. I would have to eat more than a 32-ounce steak a day. Granted, you're not supposed to eat all at once, of course. But I'd have to eat 2 pounds of steak, over 2 pounds of steak a day, just to get the protein I need.
That's quite the bill, man.
I was close, Cecil. I said 3 pounds of steak.
You said 3 pounds of protein.
Protein, yeah. Well, I meant meat, but...
Well, okay. If we're going to get technical here. No, you were pretty close. 3 pounds. You said 3 pounds. But dude, do you have any idea how much protein that actually is? That's an insane amount of protein.
You are going to poop a lot.
Oh my god, dude! I had a log today.
Dude, De La Brazil. There you go.
Who?
That restaurant that you went to.
Texas de Brazil.
Yeah.
Texas de Brazil, yes. All day long, I will go there and I will get the meat sweats. I can probably eat my weight in meat there. Holy shit. But what are you drinking, D?
Honestly, it's a sad day. I'm only drinking ginger ale because I'm still on antivirals, getting over the COVID thing, so I haven't started drinking yet.
Dude, that's all right, man. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah.
Like that's like anytime, like, okay, I had COVID, and I mean, I've been sick before. I've had the flu. I mean, I've had some gnarly sicknesses. COVID knocked me the fuck out. I have never been that sick in my life.
I think as sore as I was, it was almost like, you go to jail and you're in jail with a very, very lonely Mike Tyson. It raped the fuck out of you.
Dude, like seriously, I had to sleep. I literally sat in bed or laid in bed and slept for, I think, 6 or 7 hours just to get the energy to get up, go to the bathroom, and then lay back down and drink water and then pass back out.
Yeah, I kind of did the whole wake up drink.
Hold on, D. I gotta correct you on something. Mike Tyson was never charged with rape. I would say it's more like going to prison with R. Kelly.
Well, was he charged with rape? I think it was statutory.
R. Kelly, yeah, he was charged with raping minor.
Yeah, that's statutory rape.
But Mike Tyson was sent to jail for years ago for sexual assault.
He was acquitted. She dropped all charges of that.
Oh.
Well, I mean, that was after both black eyes, but yeah, I mean, that's true. All right, that was a bad joke, and that did not land nearly as well as I hoped it would. All right, so what kind of ginger ale? Is it at least is it an artesian ginger ale or is it Canadian dry? What is it?
Canadian dry.
Oh. Well, I freaking love ginger ale, so I can't really complain. But if you guys coax me into it, I was going to save it for the show tonight with Devin.
I'll be there with you, man. Either way, I'll see you do it.
I was going to say, so if you guys coax me enough, I might take a little bit of that before. I ran out of time.
I'm actually going to Devin's show and drinking some more moonshine.
Yeah, did you let him know that you were showing up? Because last time I talked to him, which wasn't that long ago, he did not expect you.
I told him. I don't know if he saw the message yet, but I did message him back, tell him I had the shift covered.
All right, cool. Just making sure, because he was his faced. He had said that he did not, that you were not there. And I said, and that was not that long ago. But anywho, State of Games. Let's continue this thing going before we forget, because we got to get into Obi Wan. We got to get into this finale at Obi Wan. I want to talk about it. State of Games. State of Games where we talk about what we've been playing for the past week, or we pontificate on what we feel gaming is just in general today. D, bring us back. What's your State of Games, man?
Well, since I've been mostly sleepy, I didn't play a lot of games. Since I've been sleeping for about a week. What I did play here and there was some Final Fantasy V and Legend of Zelda: Links to the Past. I played some old school. That's what I felt up to.
Nice. I love it. What about you, Zyber? What's your State of Games there, man?
Right now I am playing, D's got a lot of gain going on my end, it sounds like, but other than that, I was playing, Romancing Saga 2. A little bit of Pokemon, Sword, and that's about it.
Nice. Well, I have been playing a bit of Generation Zero. Wolfman got me into that. That game has come a long, long way. If you have not played it, you definitely should. It's got the same type of post-apocalyptic attacking zombies thing, only you're attacking giant robots, which is a lot more fun. Honestly, zombies, I love killing zombies, but zombies has definitely taken its toll on me. I like that I'm killing something other than zombies. And they're taking it a long, long way, because there's different ammo types now that actually does different damage. I was using Full Metal Jacket on most things, and I found armor piercing and realized that, holy crap, on some of the more heavily armored stuff, like the mediums and whatnot, armor piercing is just the way to go to wreck their house. But if you got component, Full Metal Jacket, just pound for pound, will take out components a lot better. But you have to be more accurate. I have also been playing Hades, so fuck you to my boss, because he's the one who told me about it, and I bought it, and yeah, that game's silly fun. It's roguelike, it's beautiful, the artwork is absolutely gorgeous on it. The story it unfolds very, very, I don't want to say it's not quick, it unfolds very, what's another word for proper? Well, it's given to you very well. No, not dramatically, because it's not dramatic.
I would say fluidly.
Fluidly, yeah, fluidly. The story unfolds very fluid-like. You play as Hades' son, and you're trying to escape hell, and you're going through and trying to make your way all the way up through. It's a very fun game. The whole point of it is that you're going to die, and the more you die, the more you get to level up your character, make yourself stronger to make it through. It's totally worth it. It's out on Steam Summer Sale now. Go check it out. Definitely worth a shot. I've also tipped back into The Quarry. God, I love that game. I love supermassive games. I really just, I want to throw them all the money. I love horror games, and I love interactive fiction, so totally check out The Quarry. But yeah, that's about my State of Games right now. Now for the meat of this episode. Obi Wan. Have you all seen the final episode of Obi Wan?
That I have.
Oh yes.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you this. Okay, I want you to take your brain, and I want you to put your vein. Yeah, all right, the alcohol's kicking in pretty quickly. And Zyber, you're actually starting to look like Back to the Future right now, where they're fading away.
Yeah, someone's messing with the time stream.
I was gonna say, did somebody go back in time and not let your parents like kiss at the prom or something? Because I see you fading away.
I hope so.
It's freaking me out right now, man. It's freaking me out. Anyways, I want you to put yourself in a vacuum and only focus on the last episode. Ignore the 5 episodes that came before it, okay? I just want you to focus on the last episode. And I want you to give me just your unabridged opinion. As I said, ignoring the 5 episodes before it, if the only episode of Obi Wan you saw was that 5th or that 6th episode, Zyber, what did you feel?
I felt everything was Ben's fault.
Okay.
Everything after that point is Ben's fault.
Like, what do you mean? Like, what everything? Oh, you mean like everything Vader did, all the deaths,
yes,
everything.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you're like, he could have clapped him, but he didn't, and now it's your fault.
Right, exactly. He had every opportunity not to leave him there injured on that planet again, but he didn't. He took that fucking high ground, turned around, and walked away.
Okay, but what did you think? Like, okay, that's a valid feeling. But that fight.
That fight was great. Ben was getting pounded hard, and then just something snapped inside him, and it was like, boom.
Okay. D, in a vacuum, that last episode, what'd you feel?
I thought that last fight was awesome. First of all, that was like, top Vader and Obi-Wan form right there. But I think they actually was pretty well thought out and really smart how they did it. Because if you notice, you can still see a little bit of Anakin in Vader.
Okay, how so?
Well, if you look really closely, after the the shrink to the helmet, and you sliced open the helmet. Spoiler alert! Sorry.
Sorry. If you're listening to this is going to be a spoiler. In fact, I'll probably title the episode "Spoiler Obi Wan."
Yeah. So right after that, you can see that during the exchange, you could actually see a tear go down Anakin's cheek, and he's kind of like he's Anakin for like a sec. But what's really cool is the dynamic is that, of course, Obi-Wan started to get the upper hand and beat him down. And after that, that little, you see that little quick glimpse of Anakin, you see Vader smile. You actually see him smiling a bit.
See, I took that tear as a I'm angry kind of tear. Like,
well, did either one of you notice that during that scene when you saw Anakin's face through there and when he was talking, did you notice how they used the lighting of the lightsabers to show that it was Anakin who was talking and then it was Vader? Because there was this tinge of blue from Ben's saber, and as he was talking as Anakin, and then all of a sudden when he's like, I killed him, like everything went red. And it was just full on Vader.
And that's cool. It's cool because it showed the kind of inner battle that there was still some Anakin left. No matter how much Vader wanted him gone, there was still some Anakin left. And of course, you see that rather than get angry, it's of course Obi-Wan is apologetic, but then you see Vader smile. And what's cool is Vader, if he can't beat you, like say physically, he's gonna fuck your day mentally. So once you saw that transition over, it's like. Once he went over there, you didn't kill me. Vader, killed Anakin, and you see him smile. It's because he's actually inflicting. So you can see the emotional damage he's inflicting on Obi-Wan, and he thinks he's starting to get him. If you can't get him physically, he's gonna hurt you mentally.
Okay, back up for a second. Where has Vader done the emotional attack before? That's the only thing not to say that I don't agree with you. I don't recall anywhere in canon series where he's done that.
Well, he fucks psychologically with a lot of people, like in the comics.
Okay, so I've read a bunch of the comics. Which ones are you talking about? Because the newest Vader series that is currently canon, he doesn't do that. He unless there's a spot that I miss in the current series for Vader, where he goes and he actually gets wrecked and ends up going and like bleeding his Kyber crystal. Like that's all canon now. But in that, he never did any, like, he was still fighting to figure out who Anakin was and if Anakin was still there. So which comics? I've read the old ones too, and I don't remember him being, Like, he was always a brute force attacker in that.
Yeah, he was a thrasher. Always a thrasher. I never seen him use any kind of psychological, emotional attack.
I'm not trying to gang up on you. I'm just, I don't, if there's something I don't remember, I want to bring it back. Like, what's the example? Like, what interaction? Because even with Rita, like, he wasn't emotionally damaging her. He just was like, I know what you're doing. And, like, I'm just letting it happen because it serves my purposes. Like, that wasn't really him emotionally attacking her. He was just like, I know what's going on. It works for me right now. It no longer works for me.
Well, I mean, you can see in some of the battles in the comics, he'll taunt, he'll get people to kind of trip up. You know, he's very tactical. He'll get them to trip up by egging them on, humiliating them. I mean, he does use psychological warfare. I'm not, you know, I mean, obviously, who is he going to really, really, like, use a lot of emotional, you know, stuff against, except for somebody so close like Obi Wan? But I mean, I think it was going more towards he'll tactically fuck with you any way he can to get the upper hand.
Okay, I could agree with that. Well, I mean, at that point in time, like, when he's down on the ground, he knows he's beaten. And I don't necessarily know that was an attack. I honestly, like, that to me felt like it was Anakin trying to break, like, there's been this dynamic between Ben and Anakin has never beaten Ben. And I think Anakin has always wanted to beat Ben.
The only time I could say during that whole episode I ever thought I felt like I saw Anakin emerge was when the Emperor was grilling him at the end.
Oh, where he's like, Obi-Wan's not going to be in it. Nah, see, like, that still felt like that. So Vader, when Anakin and Ben fought on Mustafar, that wasn't Anakin. That was Vader fighting Ben. So, like, that, him obsessing about Ben, I really feel like that is a Vader Obi-Wan, like, conjecture there. And I think it spawned from Anakin, because Anakin, as I was saying, Anakin has never beaten Ben. And in all the things that you've seen, even when they did the flashback where it was Hayden Christensen or when it was young Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting, even then he couldn't beat Ben. And did you guys see the move he did? Did you see the beatdown move he did on Ben that he did exactly on friggin' Luke in Empire Strikes Back, and then Luke turned around and did to him? Like, I loved that little bit there. That was an amazing, like, throwback. And I hope that that's what they meant to do. But anyway, so, like, the battle between Vader and Ben, I think, like, it always felt to me that Anakin was never truly gone until he bested Ben. Like, there was always that little bit of Anakin there still fighting. Like, still there.
Empire? Like, up until Empire, where Vader finally cuts him down?
Oh, well, yeah, The New Hope. But I think even that, okay, so there, but let's look at that for a second. Vader didn't actually beat Ben.
Right. He ascended, basically.
Ben took that from him, because if he had beat Ben, there would have been a dead body, and it would have been over. But there's still, like, and I think that's kind of like the whole redemption arc for Anakin, because he never actually beat the one thing, the one obsession that he had. He never actually beat Obi-Wan. So because of that, there was that little touch of Anakin, which it feels like that's what Luke was able to tap into, was that little touch of Anakin that was still there, because he was never able to actually beat Ben. Like, he was never able to fully transition into Vader. And even in this, so, like, let's do a step-by-step on this fight for a second in this last episode. And I'm going to ignore the whole Rita subplot that they had going on, because you could literally cut that out of Obi-Wan 100%, and I don't think anybody would care. I know that they're doing a Rita spinoff, blah, 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 blah. It's just, it's fucking terrible that they use this to introduce that character so hardcore.
That's the third sister, right?
Yeah, her.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just, like, they could have had her in, like, an episode and then given her a spinoff, and it would have been perfectly fine. But they spent way too much time. This literally was 5 episodes of building her story up and then Obi-Wan. Which I get that they've got to continue to make things that will have story. I want them to just honestly, I want them to redo the sequels, but I want them to tell me future shit now. I don't, like, I'm glad that you're giving me so much history, but let's focus on some of the things that happened. Like, okay, the fight. You start off, okay, just tell me how hard you got when Ben took that stance. And you know the stance I'm talking about. The classic Obi Wan stance, the stance that every time he throws into, you know whoever he's fighting is going down. Have you seen Clone Wars yet?
It's that one form he uses. I forget what it's called, but it's that one form he uses.
Yeah, the total defensive form. Like,
yeah,
but he wasn't
almost
defensive this time around.
Nope.
So, like, when he took that stance, it was just like, oh, shit is going down. But he starts off, and he's fighting. Vader gets him. But did you notice that during that fight, just even at that beginning, Vader was like, all right. And you notice that Vader did his one-armed thing where he put his arm behind his back, like he did in earlier episodes, which I'm ignoring those earlier episodes for a second, but he put his arm behind his back like, oh, I'm going to clap this motherfucker. Like, I got this. And then, all of a sudden, he started realizing, oh my God, I'm losing. Like, he's like somebody lit a fire under this man's ass. I'm starting to lose headway here. Then he started using the Force. And that was where you saw, like, Vader came in and he's like, you know what? And it was just like when he's standing over there. I love that they did the high ground thing with Vader on top. I love that they did that. And I'm glad that they didn't do like Obi-Wan jumping out of it and Vader like slashing him up or some shit like that. I'm glad that they didn't do that. But it was just that scene of like, hey, you know what? Yeah, you may have started getting some headway, but I'm still way more powerful than you. Eat a dick. And then Vader struts away after like throwing a metric ton of rocks on top of this man.
That scene, though, with Vader pulling that stuff, it brought me back to the game for the SNES when you fight Vader and he's ripping off the parts of the space station, and whipping them at you. Yeah.
So then, all right, and this is the part where I really like. This is where I want to dig into some actual questions. Like, I have some questions. I have some thoughts of my own, but I want to hear what you guys think. Then Ben Kenobi fucking goes Force Unleashed, rips his way out of those stones, and catches Vader off guard and starts pummeling this man with stones. Like, just wrecking house on this guy. Now, my question, if Ben's been able to do this, why hasn't he ever done it?
I'm pretty much thinking that, Ben's one of those more, he does what he must, but he kind of more laid back. He doesn't showboat and everything else. I mean, he uses what he must. I think one of these cases, he kind of got like, a big power, a lot of times emotion can actually add a lot in the Force. So, you're with emotion, you're going borderline, you're starting to get closer to the dark side. But, you see him, he have all the flashback of the people he's got to protect, and he realizes that if he goes down, Leia's dead, Luke's dead. I mean, if he fails, anybody he cares about, any hope for the future, any hope for the Force, Jedi, light side of the future, are completely fucked. And I think that gives him a big adrenaline boost. And I mean, Ben's always been powerful. And don't forget, for the past, 10 years, he's basically kind of almost lost touch with it entirely. He just buried it so deep because, one, he's hiding. Two, he's kind of guilt-stricken because of what he did. He feels that, right or wrong, he feels that Vader is his fault, his failure. Which we could agree with the Jedi. Pretty much they did fail a lot. They caused a lot of their own problems. But when you get all that together, I mean, Obi-Wan always has been a very powerful Jedi. You just didn't get to see that in the series leading up to it because he had buried that, because if he had started using his powers, the Empire would have found him straight away. So, I mean, he's repressed it for so long, and it finally comes bubbling back, and then he gets a turbo boost from all that emotion. He's got to protect, the future.
Right. I mean, Ben pretty much did what that chick did from Falling Order and cut himself off from the Force. I mean, even in the earlier episodes, jump back there, he's like, hey, forget about the Force. Go in the desert, bury that thing.
Well,
I mean, it was very weird to see someone with such great power and potential be so scared and cut off from everything.
So here's my thought on it. And I agree, I 100% agree with you. Obi Wan has always been a tactician. He's always used the exact amount of force needed to accomplish whatever he needed done. The Jedi have always taught that you let the force flow through you. You act as a conduit versus a draw. So you're not really like pulling from the force. You're just basically asking the force to use you as a conduit and then flow through you. And I think that explains a lot of different things. And hear my thought process before you stop me. The force.
Stop. Hold on. Right there.
I'm going to eat your brains. No. So the force, when you, like the Jedi, all the Jedi, even the Masters, and one thing I want to point out too is that Obi Wan was probably the only one who went from like Padawan to Master, and immediately once he was appointed to Master, he was on the Jedi console. Like, just hands down. Boom. He was on the console. Like, nobody questioned it. He was there. But all the Force users that are on the Jedi, all the Jedi Force users, they live an unnaturally long time. And they always said it was because of the Force. Now, if you take a look at the Sith, unless they're aided by, like, machines or apparatuses, the Sith don't seem to last that long. They seem to last unnaturally long through other means, like Darth Plagueis figured out a way to extend life, which that's a whole other theory about Palpatine actually being Darth Plagueis, blah, 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 blah. We're not getting into that. But they've always found other ways of extending their life outside of their natural life cycle. But take a look at Yoda. Like, I think, and stop me if I'm wrong, I don't think his species naturally lives to 900 and some odd years. I know that they live a long time.
Honestly, the Yoda species, they purposefully kept kind of like hidden in mystery, so they never really flushed out the specifics for his.
Right, there are species basically unknown.
Yeah, but if we go, and granted, I know that the extended universe is no longer canon, but in the extended universe, I want to say that they made that species last somewhere around like 500-600 years. And Yoda lasts till 900 years, which is unnaturally old. Now, Ben's a little bit different. Now, this is my theory on this. When you pull from the Force, when you tap into the Force and you use it as a draw, it takes your life force with it. Like, there's never anything, like, there's no free lunch. So, if you let it flow through you, you're kind of just like, you're not tapping from it, you're not using it per se, you're just you're allowing yourself to be a conduit, which, just like if you think about it like electricity, you could have a piece of copper. A piece of copper could last centuries if never overused. But if you start hammering it, putting a lot more juice over it, it'll heat up, it'll become brittle, all of a sudden it'll start failing. So I'm thinking the Force is like that, where the Force, hold on a second, I know you got it, but hold on, let me finish that. So the Force, when you pull through it like that, it really does tap from inside of you, like it starts pulling from your life force. And I think that's why Ben never used it like that. Because when he did, it literally started pulling from his life force. Now, my evidence for this, look at Ben at the beginning of A New Hope. That's only 8 years after this series. 8 years. It's been 10 years from the end of Revenge of the Sith. It's been 10 years till now. It's only 8 years until the beginning of A New Hope. That man aged something fierce in that 8 years. My theory, and this is just my fan theory, my theory is he goes off with Qui-Gon and he starts training, because Qui-Gon, keep in mind, Qui-Gon wasn't just like, he was focusing on the light side of the Force, but he had the understanding that you have to understand the dark side of the Force to understand the light side of the Force. And it's the same thing that happened with Yoda. When Yoda was pulled aside and Qui-Gon explained to Yoda, hey, this is what you need to know. And when Yoda all of a sudden realized, oh my God, I don't know everything about the Force. I thought I did. But now you've got Qui-Gon training Obi Wan. and he's going to be training him on that pull of the Force. I think that pulling of the Force is going to like literally age you. Just kind of like what happened to Palpatine, but Palpatine, they're blaming he was using electricity and the electricity fired back on him, blah, blah, blah. I think that was his pull on the dark side that did that. All right. D had his hand up first because I was ranting on there. D, what do you got?
Now that's a pretty good theory, although I think most of the advanced aging is just plain casting issues.
Yeah, but it would explain it, right?
It would, actually, it would. But I took it a little bit differently, the effects of the Force on you. Of course, the Force can prolong your life because it's like the energy of the whole universe. It prolongs your life. I think the reason why Darksiders fall apart, corrupt, and everything else is not because the draw that they're drawing or trying to force, the Force so much as that it's all that negativity. Like, for instance, if you sit there and compliment and are nice to a flower, it blooms really nicely. But if you sit there and cuss at it, yell at it, it doesn't do as effective. Like, if you're always angry and stressed out, the effects of stress on the body are ugly. So I think it's just because it's so destructive. The nature of it is so destructive, and what they're doing with it is so destructive, not just to whoever they're hurting, but themselves.
But on the flip side of it, if you got to think about it, the Force is not light side or dark side, really. The Force is just the Force. Light side and dark side is how you use it.
But that's the thing is, when they're using it in negative, and they're angry, and that's a lot of negative emotion. That's self-destructive too. The Force is the Force, but what you're doing with it is destructive. Just like fire can be a tool, but if I stick my finger in it, I'm going to get damaged.
But that's what I mean, is that like when you pull on it and you draw on the Force and you're basically forcing that power through you, you're making this draw happen. You're beating yourself up, you're aging yourself, you're deteriorating yourself faster.
But I didn't think so much as just drawing out would cause that so much as how you used it. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Like that, I can see what you're saying, but I'm interested. Anyways, Zyber, what do you got?
Yeah. Well, first, yes, I agree with you, Cecil, on the part with Qui-Gon. And like at the end of what was it, the third movie or whatever, where Yoda actually, or the second movie rather, where he's like talking with him.
So he talks with Qui-Gon. Yoda talks with Qui-Gon in the Clone Wars series. Right. But like in the prequels,
yes. In the prequels, where he's like,
third movie.
Yeah.
Before Anakin goes crazy, or as Anakin's going crazy, he hears Qui-Gon's voice.
Right, and then talks to Ben like later on there's something I need to show you how to do. Well,
so that's the trial. So in the Clone Wars series, which I still have to catch up on, in the Clone Wars series, Yoda goes through the trials that allows him to become a Force ghost. And that was a conversation that came up, is Ben obviously has to go through those trials at some point in time, but Anakin never went through those trials. So how did he become a Force ghost? And the logic that I had around that is that the trials aren't necessarily you have to do this. Here's step 1 through 10. You have to do these same steps 1 through 10. Like, everybody's steps are different. It's something that you have to overcome specifically to allow yourself to become a Force ghost.
But on something that Dee said, you can get positive results from certain things. Like, say, sunflowers, for instance. They react very positively to heavy metal music. And heavy metal music is filled with a lot of negativity at times.
That's a good point. And you know what? My pepper plants, the more negative I am to them, the hotter and more fruitful they become.
Well, those are hot pepper plants. They're trying to hurt you back. They're mad.
They're not trying to hurt anybody. They're just trying to live.
I know. I'm not being funny.
Sunflowers are really good at leaching radiation from soil. They react to volatile things in a positive way. And that's also like with what Cecil is saying on the Force. It's a reaction. I see the more you're flexible, like a tree in a storm, the Force is going to just flow through you, and it's going to be like, okay, you're in that sweet spot. But you touch on something very interesting on Palpatine's disfigurement, and it being because of the Force, not the lightning. And yeah, I can see that. If the Force is actually a draw on your life, if you are, forcing it to happen and being something that's pushing against it and pulling it at the same time, if that makes any sense. Like, I don't know. I definitely think the Sith age uncontrollably fast.
Well,
because
weren't there some pretty long-lived Sith and like in some of the
right. But Cecil was saying, and yes, like Grievous, Tyrannus, not Tyrannus, but that was
Grievous wasn't really a Sith.
Well, Force sensitive.
So actually, when they changed him to cybernetics, they injected like basically the blood of Jedi into him. So basically, he got a false injection of it.
So
they did the cybernetics,
you got Darth Plagueis, and Darth Plagueis supposedly unlocked the ability of the
death and
the ability to cheat death. But the thing is, when you look, this is where I'm going to get a little bit. So if you take a look at the sequel trilogy, you can make the assumption that Darth Plagueis' ability to cheat death was what Palpatine used, where he created clones and was able to transfer his essence to those clones. So that's still burning through the current body. And if you take a look at the ending scene, so like at the end of Revenge of the Sith, Palpatine starts throwing his electricity, and Mace Windu just blocks it with his saber. And as he's sitting there, it was almost like when you pee on an electric fence and you just can't stop peeing, and the electricity just kept coming out of him. Like once you start that draw on the Force, it's like you can't stop it for some reason when something like that is happening, and it just violently aged him and violently broke down his body. You take a look at the sequel trilogy, Palpatine, that the same thing happened when he faced Rey. He used that ability and he literally sapped his own essence out. It's like he killed himself. No. Remember Palpatine at the very end when Rey and Palpatine fight.
What?
He starts throwing lightning at her. And he can't stop throwing lightning at her.
I don't remember Palpatine in the new movies.
He was in the last movie. The ninth movie.
All I remember is Snoke.
No, Snoke got cut in half by Kylo Ren. That's Palpatine at the end.
I don't remember Palpatine, man.
Do you remember the scene where all the Death Stars come out of the planet and they all are floating there?
All right, Cecil.
I don't remember that either.
Cecil actually
the last episode.
Joint acid trip right there.
Hold on, D. Have you seen the last episode, the ninth movie?
Yeah.
Okay,
I've seen it.
What happened in the movie?
What I remember at the end is Rey and Kylo are there.
Okay.
In the throne room. They fight the, Force sensitive guys. Snoke gets cut in half. Kylo starts to dark side or something like that. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Okay, so that's the eighth movie. That's not the last movie. That's the eighth movie. There's a whole other movie after that. Okay, here's my question.
Okay.
Was Luke Skywalker alive in that movie?
No, he wasn't.
Okay. Because he's alive
in
the
last movie. They were battling on the salt flat thing that looked like blood.
Yep. Okay. That's the eighth movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the eighth movie. Because that's where Luke Skywalker dies. There's a whole other movie after that, man.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen them all, but hey, they all bleed together to me.
Okay, the sequel trilogy was 100% trash. Just hands down, 100% trash. Hang on 2 seconds. Sorry about that. But anyway, so in the ninth movie, Palpatine and Rey fight. So actually, the only thing out of the whole sequel trilogy that I actually liked was the Ben shrug. Do you remember the Ben shrug? Like, how it happens, I totally don't agree with. He fucking puts his hand behind his back, right? Teleports a lightsaber to his hand. And it's like, that's the dumbest thing in the world. But as he pulls the lightsaber out and all the Knights of Ren just all of a sudden back up for a second and he just does that's the Han Solo shrug done by Ben, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. Best part of the whole movie. Best part of the sequel trilogy. Right there.
Yeah, and I remember that.
Yeah, that's the 9th movie.
That one part was well written. In fact, that they touched on the whole, like, the father type, they brought some of those, mannerisms. That was good at least, but yeah, the rest is garbage.
Yeah, like it's going to take me, granted. Okay. So the prequel trilogy, I liked. I enjoyed. A lot of people didn't. Now that the sequel trilogy's out, it seems everybody is like, you know what? The prequel trilogy isn't that bad. It really isn't. It was really enjoyable. I'm trying to get caught up on Clone Wars too.
But I looked something up, Cecil, that actually supports your thesis a little bit more than mine, because I knew there was some pretty long-lived Sith, right?
Yeah.
So I upward Google because I've you got Star Wars Old Republic, you got comic books. I've read the whole thing and what was canon and no longer canon. It's all so confusing. I can't remember, but they had one. And this is where I was saying, like, wow, but they last a while. It's just kind of how they use it, because you had Darth Vitae, and he lasted 1,500 years. So I was like, but yeah, and then I looked in how he lasted 1,500 years. I'm like, no, this supports Cecil's hypothesis. He performed a Sith ritual on an entire planet and drained the entire thing and all of its people of its life energy to keep going. So he basically so I was like, this totally supports Cecil. It's like, I thought it was like, damn, there's some long-lived. And then I looked over the list of the long-lived ones and it was like, oh, it's unnatural shit. Damn, Cecil's point stands.
So like that's my theory. That's just like, that's my working theory right now. Now for canon wise, I don't have much to go on that theory, but that's just what I'm working with. And that would explain why Ben at the end of this series looks
ages
like
so quickly.
Ewan McGregor. And then at the beginning of A New Hope, again, 8 years later. It's not like we're talking it was 400 years later. It was 8.
Alec McGinnis.
Yeah. And granted, it is all about casting, but if you take it at face value, ignore casting for the moment, Ben Kenobi looks old as fuck. Now, granted, living out in the desert is going to take a lot out of you, but that man's seen some shit. So that's where my theory right now on how the Force works. And when I get a Star Wars RPG going again, which I really want to now after watching Ben, I want to tap into that, because that used him throwing those rocks. In fact, Vader doing his thing where he was ripping apart that ship was a complete throwback to The Force Unleashed. 100%. And I loved it. I loved that they were just relentlessly using the Force in such a haphazard and destructive way. I was like, yes, this is what I wanted to see. But Ben doing it was like, wait a minute. If he's been able to do that the entire time, why hasn't he? And then that kind of like thought process of, wait a second, maybe it's because it takes life from you. And that would explain what happened to Palpatine. That would explain what happened to Plagueis.
That and the Jedi Code. The reason why Obi Wan didn't kill Darth Vader both times, because once your opponent's down, it's against Jedi Code to actually finish them off and kill them, even if it's merciful.
But just like Ahsoka, Ben Kenobi is no longer a Jedi. He even said it in this series that he is no longer the Jedi. The Jedi are dead.
True.
So he's already renounced that he is a Jedi. Okay, so with everything in a vacuum, we've talked about the last episode. Now, let's talk about the whole series as a whole, like feelings on it. So, Zyber, the whole series, Obi Wan from beginning to end, what's your highs, what's your lows, what's your final conclusion about the whole series?
My first high was seeing Flea.
Yes! Yes! Flea as a frigging villain. Yep. I loved it.
Yep, that was my first high. I was like, wait, I know that face. Holy fucking shit, it's Flea.
Yes. Yes. You can't see me, audience, right now, but I am fist pumping with friggin' devil horns. Yes.
That was great. I enjoyed that. And as the series for a whole, you already touched on it. Yeah, I could have done without a secondary arc of the third sister.
Okay.
Unnecessary. I don't feel like it progressed the story in a positive way.
Okay.
I felt like if they were going to do that, it should have been a completely separate thing. There shouldn't have been so many episodes focused on her hunt for Ben.
Yeah, I agree with that. What about Leia? What did you think about that arc?
I don't think there was enough of like, okay, from the point of here, Owen, you take the boy, Senator, you take the girl. There wasn't enough story on like, okay, you're supposed to be watching out for these kids, and there's really no arc in their like in his promise to Padme. It was like, okay, fuck you, Ben, keep away from the boy, and girl knew nothing of him.
Any final notes? What do you think about the whole, like the series as a whole? Like if you were going to give it, I don't know, like give it a rating, like 1 to 10. I don't know.
Rating? I would probably do on 5 stars. I'd say it's a 2.5.
Okay. All right, D. What about you? Give me your highs. Give me your lows. Give me your final rating. What do you got?
I mean, you already touched on one of the highs, of course. I really did like what they did with Leia's character, although it's a somewhat of a different take from, of course, when you first meet her in the originals, the old movies. She's a little bit more of a spoiled princess, but with time that can happen too. She seemed to be a little bit more of a stronger character, I think, as the kid almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But I really enjoyed seeing Leia. I really enjoyed that arc. That was really cool. I'm gonna actually have to disagree with you guys slightly on the whole third sister arc. There's one thing I think it did portray pretty well, and that you get to know Vader a little bit better. Vader would even allow a little bit of treason and traitorous behavior as long as he, tactically, it would gain what he wanted in the end. He would use people's, their greed, their lust for power, to gain his ends and against them. So, like, he let her go on this because he wanted Obi Wan. And the main Grand Inquisitor was a little bit smarter, like, hey, tactfully, we can't just obsess over your little crush over here. We actually have to do what's best for the Empire, crush the Resistance. Vader was so focused on Obi Wan, and she, of course, wanted, she was, a conflicted character. She really wanted to get that promotion. She was really trying to make up for basically being a traumatized past and losing everything. But it really shows Vader just how ruthless he is. He knows you're going to try to betray him. He knows what you're doing, but you're going to make shit happen he wants to see happen. So he's going to let it go up until you used your usefulness, and then fuck you, you're done.
See, now I agree with you there. I love that. Just the extension, the amount of time they spent with Rita.
It was a little much. Now I just disagreed with the amount of saying it was completely like a loss. But yes, I think they focused a little too much on that side, character. As far as they could have added a little bit more, fleshed out some more of the other areas, more Leia, maybe some more of the bounty hunters. I mean, more of the other because you had, in fact, you primarily saw 3 Inquisitors to 4 Inquisitors. There was a lot more than that. I mean, you could have fleshed that out a little bit more. They were still killing other Jedi. I mean, you could have fleshed out a little bit more than just focusing on, the third sister as much as they did.
With that, though, like you mentioned the Inquisitors, and 2 of the Inquisitors made me think of, was it The Last Order or Dark Order, whatever it was, that game, the last game that they did?
Fallen Order.
Yeah. Fallen Order.
Yeah.
On sale now on Steam Summer Sale. So I 100% agree with you that the showing the ruthlessness of Vader, that he allows that treacherous actions because it's an ends to his means, but Vader knows that he is more powerful and that he can So that's the thing. This series for me showed me things that I wanted to see out of the original trilogy. Everybody always talks about how Vader is so like this badass, but you never really see it. Like you just see some really stupid stuff. Like, all right, he caught a blaster bolt out of the air, like when they fired at him in Cloud City. Oh, yay. Oh, he's feared. He chokes out some people. Yes, harder, daddy. Like all this stuff. Okay, great. But you never really get to see Vader being Vader. Like even in episode 3, where he goes and kills all the youngins or younglings or however you want to say it. Like it's still not like the clone troopers are doing more of the clapping than Vader is. Like it's just really him kind of being like, I'm being told what to do, so I'm doing it. And I love that at the end of this series, Vader was once again told this is what you should be doing. And he's like, all right, I'll go do it. Because it keeps that thing there. But one thing that I thought that they really showed was Vader's arrogance. Like Anakin is always a very cavalier and arrogant, I can make this happen. And that translated over into Vader. And Vader was very arrogant the whole time. Like with Rita, with the fight with Rita, he was 100% arrogant. The fight with Obi Wan, the first one, he's totally arrogant, fighting with one hand behind his back the entire time. Just totally like, I can clap you. I don't even need to use the Force right now. I'm going to clap your ass.
I mean, what about like when they go down into the that area of that base and they have all those people frozen in their pain, frozen in their basically death moment?
Yeah, the tomb. Yeah, where Vader literally has captured them all and just stuck them there because he wants it. Because that's Vader's way of saying. That's Vader's way of saying I know I'm better than these guys, and here's my trophies to show you why.
Right.
I disagree.
That little kid from the last movie, Order 66, frozen there, reaching out.
I disagree that it was nothing more than a trophy room.
Okay.
So, if you noticed, back in the God, I'm getting mixed up. Ezra, him and the other in his mentor, right? He was part of Clone Wars or what's that series? The blue-haired kid? Rebels. Yeah, sorry, Star Wars Rebels. Still a little tired, still recovering. Well, Star Wars Rebels, right? When they were trying to find that Jedi that he felt could train Urza better, right? They were led to her tomb. They saw, a Force Ghost. So it's like, because they sensed her presence, right? Mm-hmm. Well, just like the body has midichlorians throughout the blood and everything else, kind of like, red blood, mitochondria and all that stuff. Well, okay. Besides just having like a Force Ghost or a presence or a strong presence from your personality, the body can leave Force traces too. What they were doing with entombing and preserving those bodies so well is you kept a presence to lure other Jedi. They would sense some of those Jedi, younglings, stuff like that. In fact, I've read that in a lot of fan theories too, and in some stuff that was also put forth by some of the people that wrote on it. It's like, it's basically trapping people, because when you get that, they're like, I sense Master So-and-so is there. We got to save them. Basically, just like it was a trap for Ursa and his Jedi mentor to go and try to find this better mentor for him, and she was dead the entire fucking time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of it from that angle, but that's a good point. It's a Jedi trap.
Fallen Order, he's following a Force Ghost.
Which hang around their bodies when they're preserved, yep. Mm-hmm.
Think of that. Well, hey, we just had somebody else join in, so hang on, I'm going to unmute him. Let's see if he can talk. Yep. Soda, you there?
Can you hear me?
We can. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm tired, man. Sorry, I'm so late. I was doing a virtual job interview.
It's all good. Did you get the job?
I don't know. It was an interview. But,
you gotta be like a pirate, man. You're like, I got the job.
It was my third job interview this week. And it was a second job interview with the same company here. didn't get the last job. I wasn't really as qualified for that. This job I was way more qualified for.
Oh, good.
I am way more qualified for. So, it might be something. Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. I wish you luck. Well, the question,
irons in the fire.
Did you finish Obi-Wan?
What's that?
Did you finish Obi-Wan?
I did. Like last week. Sometime.
Awesome.
At night. Late. Half asleep. But yes, I saw it all. It was awesome.
Well, we were just going around the room, and we were given everybody was given their. We've already gone over, so we did what we thought the episode was like in a vacuum, the final episode, because we just had to talk about that fight. But now we're going through and actually talking about what we felt the whole series as a whole, and that's kind of jumped us off onto some major tangents. So, what's your thoughts about the Obi-Wan series as a whole? Like beginning to end, what were your highs? What were your lows? What's like your final thoughts on it?
I thought the feel of it, the look and feel, felt like a Star Wars movie, more so than in even a little bit of some of the other movies. It had that look and feel, and the flow and the way the scenes cut and things like that, which I was really, it was eye candy. I thought that seeing Obi-Wan go from where he was completely like disconnected from the Force to being like, Obi-Wan, super powerful Obi-Wan, where it wasn't that last fight, was kind of an interesting evolution, and it was, you don't really know after episode 3 what happened to Obi-Wan. You don't know, there's a lot of years that you don't see Obi-Wan in the movies anyway, so you don't really realize that, he spent, the better part of his life training Anakin, and then that went horribly wrong, and then, he kind of turned his back on the Force and kind of, became a little bit of an old man exile kind of thing. But at the same time, I also see like, and again, I said this last time, with Star Wars, my suspension of disbelief is strong. So I'm willing to overlook a lot of things like, why didn't Vader just lift some stormtroopers over the fire and, whatever. But the age, Obi-Wan's age right now, I mean, Luke is 10, right? Luke is 10. Mm-hmm. How old is Luke in A New Hope? What, 16? 17?
That was 17 or 18, yeah. Okay,
so in 7 or 8 years, he's going to turn into Alec Guinness, who was clearly much older than, Obi-Wan is older now than he was like in the movies, but Alec Guinness, we're looking at, he's going to age like 30 years or 40 years or something in 7 years or something like that. So,
yeah, I actually had a theory about that we actually went over for about the past hour.
And it's a good theory. It's a really solid theory, in my opinion.
I think it's solid. But back to Obi-Wan itself. So,
I blame the Campbell spiders.
Dude, if Tatooine's got camel spiders, like you know what? I'm going to get a game going, and there are going to be camel spiders just for you.
Son of a bitch.
They're going to have mouths like Snarlack pits.
Soda, what was your... I'm assuming I heard somebody in your background, so I'll give you a second to answer, but what was your thoughts on the different story arcs? So you've got the third sister story arc, you got Leia's story arc, you've got some introductions of a couple of different characters in there. So what was your opinion on those story arcs?
Sorry, I just had to talk to my daughter for a quick second there, and I missed part of the question. The story arcs, that was like the sub-stories going on?
The ancillaries, yeah, the auxiliary story arcs in there.
Well, I thought the whole piece with Leia, first of all, I thought the actress that played young Leia was great. I thought she was kind of she kind of stole the scene in many cases, and in many ways she was young Leia. I mean, she was wise beyond her years, as Leia was, because if you remember, Leia was only a teenager too, and she was also a princess that had a lot of like really strong knowledge and convictions and political feelings. So all of that was really neat, and you could see that was seated in the young kid. So I thought the whole young sub-story on Leia and her development, her growth, I thought that the whole little bit with her dad, with Bail Organa was kind of nice. He seemed to be a little bit of a little carefree as far as exposure. Like, it almost feels like there's a reason why Vader blew up Alderaan when he had a chance, because he kind of like maybe all these events over the years, like that Bail Organa, he just, he's definitely not, Empire friendly, and he's not hiding it either. Like Obi-Wan's like, keep his head down. Bail Organa's not keeping his head down. Then again, maybe he's not supposed to. He's a senator, maybe he's not supposed to keep his head down. So there were some sub-stories there. As far as the, what was her name? The Empire officer that helps the rebellion.
Third sister?
No.
Rita?
Not third sister, but what? Rita, right. I thought she was an interesting sub-story, and it was sad to see her get blown up, but I also thought...
Hold on, for one quick second, since I don't think you realize what this means on the show. It means I got an injection. Keep in mind that Padme was also incredibly young, and she was also a queen on the Senate at the same time. So that's kind of like an analog between her and Leia.
Oh, there's definitely a parallel. Definitely parallel. I mean, from mother to daughter. And when I saw Obi-Wan, that actually solidified that even more. Like, in the prequels, you could almost see that Padme was kind of like a young Leia. There was a lot of similarities there, and kind of like the way that both very strong, very headstrong, strong in their convictions, very smart, very worldly, very, in power. And also, there's almost, you can see a family resemblance almost, kind of in the, just, not just physically, but just in the behavior. So that was definitely, I don't know if we agree on that or not, but that was my feeling on that.
All right. Well, hold on. I got to cut you off for just a second, because D just had something delivered to his house that I know. I just saw his face light up. D, what did you just get dropped into your lap?
Well, it just so happens I finally got my Steam Deck.
Whoop whoop. Let's say.
So you got your deck in your hand right now, babe?
Oh, I do. And I'm
currently
playing
right here, Hoss. Hanging on to mine right here. I'm actually just updating it for my
video later.
My trip. Dude, that's awesome. You're going to love it. I can't wait. Let me know when you get some games fired up on it, when you're going to play. We can do some multiplayer Steam Deck shit.
Absolutely.
Hey, also do a system check, because I don't know if you saw the thing that I posted. Some people were getting 2x hard drives instead of the 4x they were supposed to get.
Yeah, what was that?
Yeah, Steam quietly didn't mention that they did a revision, and they reduced the lanes from the 4 lanes to the 2 lanes, saying, we don't know if there's going to be any performance reduction, but common sense says most likely to some degree yes.
Well,
but they didn't mention it.
I want to point out this, because before I forget it, because Soda was saying it. So, did you guys notice in this series how old did Leia look?
She looked like she was 5 or 6.
Like 6, yeah.
How old did Luke look?
Like 7 or 8.
How old were they supposed to be?
I'm gonna say something here.
I thought they were supposed to be about those ages.
10. It's been 10 years.
Oh.
My daughter's going into 3rd grade right now, and so she's 8.
And they're twins.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
It hit him right there. Did you see that?
She's petite. She was when she was in 1st grade in kindergarten. She was like the smallest kid in the school. You see her standing up. She's perfectly proportioned. Her mind is developed, but just her body. She's just petite. Now Michelle's short. I'm short. My brothers are tall. Her brothers are tall, but she just got short genes. And I think that when Ayla grows up, she's going to be Michelle's mom's size. She's going to have that frame, which. I'm like 5'7", and she's up to my nose. So I think that my daughter's going to be about that high. So I just to put it in kind of perspective. And by the way, just on a quick tangent there, a couple years ago, the pediatrician wanted us to put her on growth hormones. I was like, absolutely fucking no. If there was a health issue or some problem, but why are we going to put her on growth hormones? She's a couple inches shorter than her classmates. So what? It's not like in any way disproportional or anything like that, and she could go in a growth sport. So when I watched this with Leia, I kind of thought she was like another petite kid.
See, I would agree with that only for the fact that Luke and her are supposed to be twins, and even fraternal twins, while they can have 2 separate gene runs, they're still there's still similarities between them at a very basic level. Like they look like there's 5 years difference in their age between Luke and Leia. And that, like, I agree with the suspension of disbelief. And I think this is just bad casting. I think this was just terrible casting just in general. But if you look at it, like, they're twins. Even fraternal twins will look like they'll be something close. Like, now, granted, if you can find me some examples, go ahead. Email them into G.N.A podcast at gnainyourdna.1. But every fraternal set of twins that I've seen, they've usually been within, like, at their full grown height, about 4 to 5 inches between one another. Who do you got?
Remember Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito?
Okay.
Hey.
Okay.
I'm just teasing.
You know what? Ironically, you got me there, so I've got to give you that. I rescind everything I just said. Leia and Luke, they look exactly the way that they're supposed to be. I believe it now. Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger obviously is the example that broke my will to live. I love how they made Vader in this series, hands down. They really gave him the ruthlessness, the bloodthirst, the obsession that he's had, his abilities to use the Force. They made Vader seem terrifying, which is what I loved. What do you got?
Yeah, let's give it out to Hayden Christensen for doing a freaking phenomenal job with that.
Oh, dude, and oh god, what the hell's his name? Who did Vader's voice?
James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones. Yeah, my brain just melted. Sorry. Yeah, James Earl Jones for coming back and doing that voice again. Holy shit. Like, nailed it after all these years. Just fucking nailed it.
Hang on. If you look in the credits, it was James Earl Jones, but there was some technical heebie-jeebies going on. I forget the name of the process. It wasn't just James Earl Jones. They were actually using some voice modulation to make him sound like the old Darth Vader. So,
well, yeah, but it's still James Earl Jones. Like the cadence, like the breaths in between, like everything about it still screamed Vader.
The guy is like 40 years older. His voice is going to crack and change a little bit. So, I mean, you're going to have to do something to restore that quality of the younger James Earl Jones voice.
I just thought they nailed it. I just 100% thought they nailed Vader. They made me fear Vader. They made me think to myself, if I saw Vader in a dark alley, would I run? And the answer is 100% resounding yes, I would fucking run.
Especially after that alley where he's sitting there snapping necks and choking people and throwing them around.
Dude, so like in Rogue One where they showed Vader, they gave you just a taste of like, holy crap, that's Vader right there. That's awesome. But even that was tame compared to this Obi Wan series. And the best part is that this Obi Wan series was supposed to be darker. They took stuff out. I want to see what the hell they took out, because if this was supposed to be darker, like seriously, was Vader just ripping people in half?
Well, in the old comics, I think before
Scarlet Witch,
before they made him like non-canon, there was times that Vader got pissed because, like, got chewed out by the Emperor, or, he got admonished for something, and would just slaughter a fucking platoon of stormtroopers for shits and giggles. I mean, he was for one, just seeing his identity, seeing him without his mask, he would snap the neck around. But I mean, throughout the comics, he'd get pissed and just fucking, when he was after something, he would kill his own people, their people. If anybody was mixed up on the way, he would just slaughter people just to, So I think it could have been a lot darker.
Yeah, Vader in this series, hands down, 100%. Like, I love what they did. I want a Vader series now. Like, I've read the Vader comics that are canon. I want a Vader series now.
But take it. It's got to be dark. Vader's got to be dark. He's somebody that can go around murdering children. He's got to be a dark person. And
they showed in this if you think about it, a Force user versus 30 non-Force users, with or without a lightsaber. I don't care. You can take the lightsaber away from them. A person with the Force should be able to murk those 30 people's hands down, no questions asked, no trouble. And they really showed that that's the power you have here. Because, especially in that last fight where Ben was just literally lifting up rocks. Now, I'm going to say this. I still think, and I still believe, that Vader is more powerful than Obi Wan. And I really think that the only reason that Obi Wan won in the fight at the end was simply because he caught Vader off guard. Because Vader was strutting away going, I won this fight, I'm fine. And all of a sudden, there's Ben. There's that split second of, holy crap, this guy's still alive? And he capitalized on it, and he wrecked house.
There also might be a rage factor involved. That he may not have the same power every second, but there may be peaks and valleys. And Obi-Wan could have raged and hit like this highest peak, and and therefore had for that moment had the upper hand, had a little bit greater power than Vader had. Again, Vader might have let his guard down a slight bit, had a little bit of a valley, and it was just the timing of it. That said, in the beginning of the episode, the first episode, Anakin's words, I think he says, Obi-Wan is as wise as Yoda and as strong as Mace Windu. And Mace Windu was the strongest Jedi before Anakin came along. So Obi-Wan is badass. I mean, you forget that when you think of Alec Guinness Obi-Wan, but Obi-Wan was a badass.
He was, especially in Clone Wars. What do you got, D, though? You got something?
And don't forget, not only did he catch Vader, kind of off guard, but what is one of the first places he nailed really hard?
His breather.
Yes.
His breather. And when he can't, without that, he can't really breathe. What does Vader do to compensate? He taps into the dark side of the Force, and he forces him to live. He forces himself to breathe using the dark side. But that's using up a bunch of his power, his concentration, and everything else. So now he's at a huge disadvantage.
So there's another theory I have.
Ethical.
So this was another thing that came up, which somebody mentioned to me at work. Obi-Wan is slamming him with rocks. Why didn't Vader just turn around and just go, bam, stop all the rocks and throw them all back at him? And here's my working theory. This goes along with the peaks and valleys that Soda just said. The Force takes a level of concentration. Now, yes, Anakin should be able to do a lot of stuff with very little concentration because of his just the midichlorian count, whatever you want to call it, but just his innate ability. He should be able to do things a lot easier with little concentration. But it taps into that whole rebreather thing too. He couldn't get concentration. It's like literally when somebody's ducked down and they're being kicked while they're on the ground. They're just trying to survive at this point in time. They're not trying to win. They're just trying to survive. And I think that's where it touches into it of oh crap, this dude is getting clapped. Holy shit. And that's where that Force, it's like in D&D. You have a spell, that spell takes concentration to run. If you run out of, if you're trying to run that spell and something breaks that concentration, that spell doesn't work. And I think that kind of flows into the same thing with the Force. At least that's kind of my working theory on it.
I'm sure my video is not working, but it was a minute ago.
It's all good. We don't need to see you.
The end of the fight, when Obi-Wan just was he just walked away, because I thought that was really significant because of what Anakin said. He said, Anakin's dead. And Obi-Wan, kind of you could see the gears turning, he was I'm here to fight Anakin. I don't give a fuck about you. Pretty much. It was kind of it was very, I thought that was a really important point that he walked away. He ended the fight, lived to fight another day, whatever you want to say, but he's I don't have a fight with you. You're a Sith Lord, I'm a Jedi, right? But I didn't come here. What he told Qui-Gon was I'm going to fight Anakin, and I may not come back. One of us is probably going to die, right? Something like that when he went, but I wasn't fighting Anakin. Anakin said, Anakin's dead. Only Darth Vader now. And Obi-Wan was okay.
He just walked away. He's just that's not who I came here to fight.
You. Yeah. Have a nice day. I thought that was really an interesting point right there. Kind of unexpected, but also made perfect sense.
But it goes with the character of Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan, he again never wants to use more force, more effort. He doesn't want to use more force than required to accomplish whatever his goal is. And killing somebody doesn't accomplish whatever his goal is, because Obi-Wan still innately is a good character. He's I wouldn't necessarily say lawful good. He's more of a chaotic good character, but he's still a good character. What do you got, Zyber?
That's where I say, again, all the pain and all the suffering, from that point, Obi-Wan walks away to where Vader is finally put in place by Luke, all that pain and suffering is Ben's fault.
Well, so which pain and suffering are you talking about? Let's be specific here.
All the death and destruction that Vader causes.
Well, which death and destruction? Because Vader's only going after Jedi.
Vader's whole... I mean, Alderaan.
Vader didn't destroy Alderaan. That was the general guy on the Death Star.
He was part of that, though.
But he didn't actually
part of the Empire. He assists the Empire in its main goals.
But Vader was never building the Death Star. That was always Palpatine. I don't mean to be argumentative, but like I'm down with it. I agree with you.
Vader assisted in overtaking planets that had the Kybers. He wipes out Wookiees, the planet of the Wookiees, enslaving anyone who's left to work the mines, work asteroids.
Is that still canon? This is not me being like, I'm actually genuinely asking. I don't know what's canon anymore.
I mean, I assume the whole arc of fucking Dark Star is still canon. Force Unleashed.
I don't know. Is it? Oh crap! Hold on.
I mean, if that's so, I mean that whole thing. Sure, he plots to take out the Empire with one of the many clones of, Dark Star.
All right. So here's what it says. Is the Force Unleashed canon? No, not anymore. Sadly, after Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney, Disney declared that the Force Unleashed is no longer canon.
Never mind then.
Which sucks, because I loved the Force Unleashed, and that would totally explain off a whole bunch of stuff that Ben did in that last episode. What do you got, D?
Another possible reason for Ben to just walk away, for Obi Wan to just walk away. You know, he's back to himself again after all that, that rage and stuff like that. So he's open, of course, open to the Force, and Jedi follow the will of the Force, so he's following the will of the Force. Why was Anakin the chosen one? He's supposed to bring balance to the Force. Well, it was out of balance. Jedi think it's, the chosen one's going to help us make everything better in their view. Sith are like, he's going to make it better in our view. He just fucked everybody, just reset everything to ground zero. He brought balance by just fucking both sides.
Hold on.
Wasn't it balanced? Because now you have all these Jedi, and you have one Emperor, and Darth Maul, maybe. So by having another badass on the dark side, it kind of balances it out with all the Jedi. Most
of the Jedi are dead.
Not the balance they wanted.
Hold on, gents. Zyber, what do you got?
Definition. Yeah.
On the scope of balance, it doesn't necessarily mean that Anakin himself was the balance. Something he could do could bring balance, like have kids.
Yep.
Or whatever may be the progression that enacts balance. Like inciting the training of Rey could have been his act of balance through his son Luke.
Yeah, he brings balance. This isn't necessarily balance. I think the guys, it was Ezra and Rebels who made the same thing where they commented. It was the same thing I touched on with Obi Wan, is that you don't know everything of the Force until you understand both the light and the dark side of the Force. And I think that's the balance they're trying to talk about. Because Rey, while she used more light side tactics, she was still Palpatine's clone, so she still had a very strong pull to the dark side.
Was she his clone? I thought she was his son's daughter.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. No,
Wait,
I think
what?
it was a clone's son's daughter. So yeah, it's like great grandparent. You're right.
Wait. Rey from The Force Awakens is related to the Emperor?
It's like her granddaughter.
Okay, there's a link. I haven't watched all the movies. I mean, I haven't seen the last two. I didn't realize that Rey. I thought The Force Awakens was great. What's that? Everyone said don't bother, but it's a matter of time. Yeah. Well, I know some of it. I've seen bits and pieces, but I didn't know Rey from. I liked Force Awakens a lot. I thought that was a great movie. I really dug it. I thought it was.
other than Rey being able to friggin' clap a fully, like, an actual trained Force user, like, that's the part where my suspension of disbelief gets really shaky. Her, with absolutely no Force training whatsoever, is able to clap Kylo Ren. I don't care how wounded that son of a bitch is. He should be able to outmatch her any day of the week.
It'd be like me getting an inspirational talk and then going to clap Bruce Lee. I don't fucking think so, Tim.
But the thing is, Kylo is a very arrogant and stubborn, pig-headed shitbag. So
who's trained?
Who's vaguely trained.
Vaguely. No, he was trained by Luke.
He left before his training was anywhere near complete.
He was trained by Luke, and then he was trained by Snoke. How do you think he figured out how to use the dark power? Like, he was trained by both of those people. And you're going to tell me that Rey, who all of a sudden shows up and goes, holy shit, I can control a stormtrooper's mind? You're telling me
inherent?
Inherent. Like, okay. That's like...
I mean, it's like... I look at it like maybe it's like some animals where you get programmed, like what they were doing on Genosha with the clones. They were pre-programming certain sets inside the clones.
I would have to, like, if you were to like, if we went back and we said that she was a clone of Palpatine, I would agree with you 100%. Like, I'd be like, yeah, okay, she's a clone. It's like one of those friggin' Demolition Man's things. She now knows how to knit a sweater. Okay, I'll go with that. But she's not. She's the granddaughter, which thankfully you guys corrected me. She's the granddaughter of Palpatine. So, like, I don't know that programming could go all the way. Yeah, she's the granddaughter of Palpatine. So one of Palpatine's clones had a son. That son had a daughter. They left that daughter on that desert planet and then went off and got themselves
Palpatine got cloned?
Yeah, he had many clones trying to perfect himself.
Snoke is a clone Palpatine, a Palpatine clone.
Failed clone.
Failed clone, yes.
But what was useful.
Okay, and then one of his clones had an affair with a stormtrooper? What did you say?
So. Like that'll at least give some really interesting portion. No, we don't know who they had a baby with, but I don't remember who the mother was, but the mother was just somebody else, and that's But anyways, if you're telling me like I can suspend my disbelief a lot, but that she was literally like had no Force training, like. Kylo Ren should have
she's Neo.
I mean, that is at least better logic. But even Neo had training.
Got downloaded. It was downloaded.
Yeah, he got training,
which made sense because they were in a computer.
Because when
Kylo trained her with all those Force telepathies.
I mean, look, and that's another thing. She being able to fight off Kylo Ren invading her mind
when she was with Luke. She was going through all those books. Maybe she just is one of those people.
This was before she even met Luke in Force Awakens.
Oh, she was in the forest and she just happened to get that lightsaber from what I suspect was probably a Jawa out of robes.
No, so like, first off, she's able to keep Kylo Ren out of her mind. The same thing that the third sister, which we've already figured out that the third sister could do. The third sister was able to like literally invade a trained Jedi's mind, was able to do such. But now you're telling me that this chick can stop Kylo Ren from doing it.
Leia in this series was basically doing the same thing.
But no, she was using intuition. She was like using like some weird Force sensitivity. But yes, you're right. She was kind of doing the same thing, but she was doing one thing innately. You're going to tell me that Rey...
Instinctually.
You're going to tell me that Rey could instinctually keep somebody out of their mind who's forcibly pulling themselves in there, can instinctively clap somebody using the Force, can instinctively out-battle somebody with a lightsaber.
I don't know. I mean, I say some of it has to probably do with genetics.
Man, she got some strong-ass genes. That's all I got to say to that.
Well, I mean, most human behaviors are learned, but in the animal kingdom, there's a lot of genetic behaviors. Like, I can go on. If you take, social psychology or evolutionary psychology, courses, I actually, evolutionary psychology was one really interesting course. Why are cats easy to litter train and human babies are hard to potty train? The theory is that we evolved from primates. Primates who live in trees. They don't care where they shit. Cats live underground. They do care where they shit. So it's evolutionary biology or evolutionary psychology for cats to not shit where they eat, whereas humans don't have that built in. We don't have any built in. We have to learn everything, whereas animals have a lot of genetic psychology, a lot of genetic behaviors built right in. So
it's in the coding. It's in the DNA.
So that even fights it further. She's a human.
A long time ago.
Right, but she's from a clone.
Are they human, though?
But she's not. She's not from a clone. She was birthed. She's 2 steps removed from a clone.
But are they human?
Still from
Star Wars
clone.
Never say that they're human.
Cloning. Her father was the product of a clone.
Agreed.
Now, I don't know if it's canon anymore, but in the galaxy far, far away, a long time ago there, eventually humans did make it to this galaxy. So in the storyline, unless it's no longer canon, I don't remember which, but they did explain how humans ended up here too.
Oh. Okay.
But that might not be canon anymore because I don't fucking know.
I am pretty sure. I am pretty sure that they labeled them as humans.
Yeah.
So why do you think that you mentioned third sister a couple times, and I want to hit on that because that's one of the things that I took away from it. Why do you think that Vader let third sister live? Why do you think he just? I mean, you might have already talked about this, but why do you think Vader tends to leave nobody alive when he fights them? He tends to kill. Why did he leave her alive so she could come back? Because I do believe she's going to come back. I do believe she's not.
Do you want to take this?
Yeah. Well, basically, Vader, he's ruthless. So if you're serving a purpose and you're going to bring him what he wants, even if he knows you're going to try to betray him, he's much more powerful. He doesn't care as long as he gets what he wants. Like, for instance, like the other like Grand Inquisitor really wanted to focus on, say, getting all the rebels rather than just Obi-Wan, and Vader was obsessed with Obi-Wan. He tried to talk sense into it. She was willing to do anything to get at Obi-Wan for him, so she could further her own career. He knew he was going to try to betray her, but it's like, you know what? She's going to get me what I want. Fuck it. Let her free and leash for a little while, and then I'll just, when she's no longer useful or she becomes an actual pain, then kill her.
Do you think that then he's keeping her alive because sometime down the road in the future, after he loses track of Obi-Wan again, she might be useful in finding Obi-Wan? Or why wouldn't he just kill her? Because she already did her use. She already brought him Obi-Wan. Why didn't she just okay?
When he just threw and let her down, and he just left her there?
Yeah, he left her alive.
Yeah, well, usually from a lightsaber right through the midsection is usually lethal. But also with abdomen wounds, don't forget, Vader's ruthless and mean. A lot of times with a nasty, really bad inflicted abdomen wound, you will die. It'll just take hours or even days. So he's just being cruel. I mean, she took her right through.
They also already touched on why they weren't dying from abdomen wounds, because the Grand Inquisitor even came back and said your lust for revenge is there. Yeah. They've already canonized that it's a dark side ability to survive fatal wounds. Yeah. Darth Maul able to survive being split in two. It's a dark side ability.
Maybe he was arrogant and didn't think she was strong enough.
Exactly. That's his weakness, is his arrogance.
Yep.
But yeah, there's
they showed that in a nice flashback when it showed the training session and Obi-Wan and Anakin, which I thought was great. The whole flashback to Anakin, and then as far as that went, though, that did show that Anakin's arrogance was his downfall. So,
but let's actually be real. The real reason why she lived. The writers already admitted that they were planning on being killed off as a character. She was supposed to actually die.
Oh,
well, no, because before the show was even, long before the show was even submitted, they even said that there was going to be a spin-off of one of the Dark Sisters.
I thought they changed their mind when they decided to spin off. I thought that came later.
The real reason she didn't die, is because Cloud Strife wasn't there to put her into a body of water.
Oh, to drown her. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah.
It's because if you're still alive, you sink. If you're already a dead body, you'll float. Sephiroth didn't kill Aerith.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Dumbass.
Yeah, Cloud, the son of a bitch. Let's pour one out for Aerith.
Meanwhile, she's like semi-conscious, like in a paralyzed state, going, "You fucking moron."
Yeah. She's just sitting there sinking to the bottom going, "You're a douchebag."
This is why she's always in his vision. She's like, "I'm going to haunt his dumbass now."
Dude, plot twist. It'd be great if they did a sequel where she comes back as the villain and she's all pissed because, like, you let me sit there and die. If it wasn't for this dark entity insert here, I would be dead right now.
Dude.
You drowned me.
Final Fantasy VII Fatal Frame.
Yes, in VR, just to make you shit your pants.
Oh,
hell
no.
Yeah.
No, that's a code level brown right there. I do not want to touch. Mm-mm. All right. Well, we got to wrap this bad boy up. I mean, all in all, there's going to be a season 2. They've already announced that a season 2 is coming out. Season 1 was enough for me to say, yes, I want to see season 2. I say this with knowing that one of the biggest things that I loved out of this one was Vader. I don't want to see Vader in the next season. In fact, if he's in it at all, I want it to be an afterthought of him, not him being a major protagonist. I want him completely
I want to
void.
see where they go with it to get up to Rogue One.
See, I'm okay with them. Rogue One is so far forward. Like, that's another 8 years into the future. I'm okay with that. I want to see, like, obviously Ben does a lot more in those years that he never did before. Like, that we just didn't know. Just like in the Clone Wars, the series. He did a lot of stuff.
We can get some more quick on.
Well, there's supposed to be that Ahsoka series, too, so...
That I want to see. I want to see Ahsoka so bad.
Endor,
so,
right?
Guys...
The precursor to Rogue One. Isn't it called Endor or Endo? He was the main character in Rogue One. Isn't that the next series?
Maybe. Okay, here's a quick question. And this is actually something that the last episode made me think of and I forgot to mention. Did you guys see somebody did a fan version of Obi Wan versus Vader in A New Hope?
That was awesome. Yes. And they actually used their force powers and they were actually a little bit more nimble with their fighting. It was fantastic.
Zyber, did you see it?
No.
So did you see it?
I don't know what you're talking about. Is it on YouTube?
Okay. Yeah, it's on YouTube. I'm going to post it for you guys to watch. So watch this. The final episode of Obi-Wan makes me feel like this fan-made Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader fight totally makes sense and is exactly how it went because of this last episode. Like, it totally made sense. But on that note, let's finish this guy out. Zyber, where can people find you at, man?
Oh, you can find me. I'm actually back on Twitch. I am doing basically every Sunday playing a game. The game that I'm doing right now, like I said in the beginning of the show, is I am retouching on Romancing Saga 2. I'm going to play it to completion, and then I'm going to jump right into Romancing Saga 3. And that's Zyber Blood on Twitch. You could also find me palling around on the G.N.A Discord, as well as my Twitter. That's ZYBERBLOOD.
Nice. Well, we're changing our recording days to Sunday, so maybe we can see some more of you. D, where can people find you at, man?
People can find me on my website, microbrewgamerz.com with a Z instead of an S. I'm actually writing more articles lately. I've been a lot more active doing that. You can find me on my YouTube channel, same thing, Microbrew Gamerz. I'm going to be doing basically a review of the Steam Deck pretty shortly. Box opening, video. Check it out, start it up, see how it works. Occasionally on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Microbrew Gamerz everywhere. I've got my own Discord, but I'm mostly trolling the G.N.A Discord.
Icicles. What about you, Soda? Where can people find you if they were so inclined to look for you?
You can find me virtually in Microbrew Gamerz refrigerator sampling beer.
Nice. And I'm Cecil Xavier, your host. You can find me on Cecil vs. Games on Twitter, Cecil Xavier everywhere else, sometimes with underscore, sometimes without. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Reviews help people find the show, so if you enjoy listening to us, let other people know. You can find us on Google Play Music, Podcast Addict, Player FM, Spreaker, MyTuner, Your Listen, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, every other place. If you can't find us there, let us know. We will upload there. You can also find our Discord. Just jump to our website, www.GNApodcast.com. There's a Discord link right there to jump in and join in on the antics. We've actually been pretty chill on the Discord as of lately because life happens, both with me and everybody else. But I've been getting the G.N.A. Misadventure League going again. We're going to be doing a D&D series where we're going to be doing a homebrew campaign. We've got 5 players currently that are going to be joining in. It's going to be interesting. We've got some great backstories, some great characters. I'd love to see where things are going to go. Join in on that. Listen to the G.N.A. Misadventure League when we kick that back and going. We're going to do horror movie night. Just never got around to it. There's just not enough hours in the day. Also, it's just me right now doing host duties, so pretty much just don't have the time to organize and do all the work there. But hopefully at some point in time we can get going. If you're interested in hosting for, let me know. Reach out to me at G.N.A. Podcast at G.N.A. in your DNA.1. Let me know and we'll hook you up. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, everywhere else. Just look for me there. We'll make it happen. We're partnered with Humble Bundle. Humble Bundle is a game purchasing service with a twist. You can go buy games and donate to charity simultaneously. Just put !partner equals G.N.A. Podcast at the end of your podcast link. That'll let people know that we sent you. Put the slider for G.N.A. Podcast all the way down to 0. We don't want your money. We only want to let them know, or we only want to know that we sent you there. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It was awesome. I'm actually going to do the quickest edit I possibly can and get this thing cranked out because I'm going to be recording tonight with Devin as well. So I got to get this out because I completely forgot to make an episode this week. This is said episode for this week.
So wait until Tuesday to send this?
I'll send it right over after this.
Or not. Have a good night, gents.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.